News 3 PM continues now. Legendary South African playwright and director Athol Fugard has died at the age of 92. Fugard is best known for his political plays, some of which have been adapted for film. His novel Tsotsi was adapted as a film and won an Academy Award in 2005. This plays like Master Harold and the Boys and Sizwe Banzi is Dead were performed around the world. Let's speak now to Greg Homann, the current artistic director at the Market Theatre Foundation. The Market Theatre in Johannesburg was the place where many of Fugard's plays first saw the light of day. Greg, thank you very much for coming on this afternoon. We just spoke to James Ngobo, who reflected on Athol Fugard, calling him a prolific playwright who specializes in the theatre of humanity. How would you describe him?
Where do we begin? I mean, Thabo, he's a real giant of our theatre. I think it's a sad day for us. You know, he put South African playwriting on the world map and was in two ways. Through his work as a solo playwright with plays like Nongogo and going back to the 50s and so on, and then much later plays like Master Harold and the Boys, Hello and Goodbye. I mean, there's a long list, but those were his solo pen plays. But then there was also the work that he did with the Serpent Players, where Sizwe Banzi is Dead, and The Island, where he co-wrote and workshopped with John Pani and Winston and Shauna through the 70s. And down at the Space in Cape Town was a staunch resistor of apartheid, made a point of staging work in spaces that were free and open and allowed diverse audiences when it was against apartheid laws to do that. And so his legacy is huge. And so I think that he's in many ways not only a South African playwright that we should celebrate, but he's one of the world's best of the last 50 years.
Yeah. I mean, amongst the many accolades, Greg, that come with your name and your achievement in this particular space, including your academic work and all the work that you have done, there are two areas that jumped up at me. One of them is that you actually supervised a student who was doing his honors degree, a BA English Literature, on Athol Fugard and his playwright practices. But secondly, just now recently, just after COVID, you were in the States where you serve as the dramaturge on Syracuse's stages, the 2021 production of Athol Fugard's Master Harold and the Boys. Taking on those tasks, what did it mean to you?
You know, it's a privilege to work with these texts. These texts belong to a very particular tradition of playwriting. They're not necessarily a tradition that every theatre maker subscribes to, but they belong to a tradition of deeply crafted, nuanced, complex human stories that stem very much for Athol Fugard from his personal life. So many of the starting points for the plays come from his personal life. So Master Harold and the Boys speaks very much to his relationship as a schoolboy to his father. So he's writing from a deeply, deeply personal place. And the remarkable thing about his plays is that he's often writing about a single street in Port Elizabeth, or what's now Ngubega. And he's writing about it in such a specific way, but it is so universal because it's about family. So it's a huge privilege to have worked on some of these plays. I mean, I've only worked on these plays as a support to other directors and so on, particularly Master Harold and the Boys that, as you say, I worked on in New York at Syracuse Stage. And it's a privilege to unpack the plays, to get into the detail of it, and to understand that, and this is the big lesson that I think Fugard gives us, is that the more specific we are, the more we tell the specific story that is close to us, the more we connect with a big, broad humanity, because there is something deeply embedded in what we mean to have a father, a mother, a brother, a sister, and for those relationships to be challenged and to be complex.
Yeah, to a young actor who will be coming to the Market Theatre Foundation one day and coming into contact with Athol Fugard's work, and you would be standing on that stage giving some kind of direction and advice. What would you say to them about who Athol Fugard is in summary?
Sure. I would say that he charted the path amongst others, but he was one of the leading voices who charted a path for that actor to be standing on that stage. I don't believe that the Market Theatre would have the gravitas and the weight if Athol Fugard wasn't a part of that history. As much as we celebrate John Kani, Winston Dutshona, Bongeni Ngema, Mklope, and many others, Athol Fugard is right up there at the very top of the list with having made it possible that a place like the Market Theatre in 1976, a fruit market that gets turned into a theatre, can help not only transform and contribute to the cultural life of South Africa, but to a sense of the world. And at one point in the 90s, Athol Fugard's plays were some of the most produced in the world by any international playwright anywhere in the world, which is a remarkable achievement, coming from humble beginnings in Port Elizabeth.
Sure, it might be something that's on your mind, might be too early to go there yet, but I'm sure the Market Theatre would want to do some kind of a tribute to this giant.
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly looking for ways in which we acknowledge and pay tribute to those that have helped make our space what it is. Next year is our 50th year. So we're very much in the place of thinking about our legacy, what it means, how we acknowledge some of the many great names, and Athol Fugard, as I say, being really one of the, if not, he's one of the greatest. So yes, we're certainly thinking about work. I know that other theatres across the country and across the world will suddenly return to Athol Fugard's plays, and not that they've ever moved away from them. I think they've been done, extensively. There's always an Athol Fugard play somewhere on, if it's not in South Africa, somewhere in the world. So absolutely, part of our programming will be to look at how we can acknowledge this, and we were already doing that in relation to thinking about our 50th year and how we were going to acknowledge him alongside many others who've charted this great path that we now are able to celebrate as the identity of South African theatre. And without Athol Fugard, the identity of South African theatre would be somewhat lesser.
Appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on, Greg, Artistic Director at the Market Theatre Foundation, and his tribute to Athol Fugard.